Hey guys, it's Maymay, and when I did the reveal for this club set for last week, so many of you guys wanted to see how I did this technique, and I thought, you know what, I don't think I've ever done this sort of thing on my channel, and I thought I would show you how I did it. It's super easy, and it just is embossing resist. That's what this is, and it's super easy to do, so we're going to make it. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one a little bit smaller. This is the base I'm going to use, only because I thought I'd show you another way or another look of a card. Since this is kind of the full front of a card, let's do this one. So what you're going to need is embossing powder, and I'm going to use white. You don't have to use white. This is glacier white. You could use clear, but I'm just using white because it was close. Clear will do the same thing because I'm using white paper. If I'm using a different color of paper, then whatever's behind the clear will show through when we finish this technique. That'll make more sense as we get moving along. All right, the stamp set. I'm going to be using the trees and the deer and then some other little pieces here and there. So let's just get started. First thing I need to do is powder this page. And I have discovered, for me, this works really well. If the first thing I do is rub this on, kind of in this circular motion, and get the whole page really good, then I come back and pat it, I find that I get a really good result with my embossing that way. Okay, and my little pillow pad has a hole in it. See how it shot out right there? So the first thing we need to do is stamp. Now this is going to be a little difficult, and the reason is, especially for you guys, you're not going to be able to see this because everything's clear and white, and so it's going to be hard for you to see. And even in your own craft room, when you're doing this, you may struggle with seeing it. But I want to let you know this. Don't stop. Keep going. Because these trees look really good distressed. And so if you don't get a perfect stamp or a perfect image, they still look really good. Here's the thicker tree from the set. I'm going to come over here to this side. And I'm just going to line it up and stamp it down. Now I'm kind of mimicking the original card I did, so I want to show you that one real quick so you can see. So I've just done this one right here. I'm going to go ahead and do these as well. So I'm going to pull this guy off because I only needed him one time. And I'll put him back on my stamp sheet. Now I'm putting the thinner crooked tree. And if you want to be sure that these are on like they're made, like the stamp is made, the thing to do is lay them down with the stamp image side down and the part that should stick to your block up. And then you'll pick it up. I want to move this so I don't get into it. You'll pick this up like this. And then you know it's laying like the set designed it, but it doesn't matter. It's a tree. And if you bend it or turn it, it works either way. Here I'm going to do two trees. So we're going to put one on one side, one closest to the edge, and then I'm going to come in and put another one in. The other cool thing is this. When you're using a page that's shorter than your stamp, to get a differing look of the trees, you can go lower and higher. So I'm going to take this one and put it right here to this edge and stamp it down. And try not to touch. Matter of fact, you might even want to use like your pokey tool or something and try not to touch your work surface any more than you have to. All right, I'm going to do another one. Now this one, I can kind of see where that one is. I want to bring this one at an angle this way. And see how I'm moving it up a little bit? It'll be a little thicker at the bottom. That's good. Bring that one in. And again, I'm trying not to touch him when I have to. And I'm also not touching where I previously stamped. Okay. You can kind of see that because my stamp's a little dirty, so you can see it, but it'll be all right. I'm using white embossing powder. I'm going to put this one up, and then I'm going to bring out the other tree that doesn't have the birch marks. This is just the straight tree, or the one that's got the little nubs on it, I guess we'll call it. And I'm going to put that one between the two. So I'm going to come right here and overlapping a tree there at the bottom, do this. Now, once I had my trees done, I went ahead and embossed. But I think since I'm looking at this, I can go ahead and do my moon at the same time. So I'm going to put my little crescent moon onto my block. Going to ink it up. And I'm going to come right up here and put this moon in. Oh, not that way. This way. Like so. And not touching my page. Okay. Let's go ahead and heat emboss these. So I'm bringing over a sheet that's been folded in the middle. Okay, just a scrap piece of paper. I'm going to put this guy down and I'm going to put down some white. I might even use my tweezers to pick this up because I'm trying to keep my finger oils off of it, especially since I'm embossing so much of the page and I can't really see where everything's going. I want to keep my fingers off of it. Somebody mentioned in one video I showed that they didn't know you could wait to apply your embossing powder, and you sure can. You don't have to do it instantly. You've got a little bit of time before your embossing ink will dry. So that looks pretty good. I think I'll do a little more just to be sure. This is also very forgiving, and the reason is we're going to add snowflakes later, so any white that gets where you don't want it is really not going to be a problem. All right, let's put this guy down. I'm going to dump this powder back into my jar. Now, you must preheat your heat tool. I'm going to turn mine on for 30 seconds. I'm actually going to watch the clock and make sure it's on for 30 seconds before I take it to my surface. That is to keep your surface from warping any more than it has to. So now that is all heated. There we go. There's a good shot of it. So you can see it. It's starting to appear. The next thing I want to add are my limbs and my deer. So let's start with limbs. So there's several for you to choose from on the set. I just like to use one or two. You don't really need more than that because you can really turn this and get so many different looks from even just one of the limbs. But the first thing I'm going to do again is powder because I don't trust myself with my finger marks and all that good stuff. I know I can get oils from my hands places I don't want them. All right, back to my Versamark and to my little limb. And I wait to do my limbs because now I can actually see the trees. If I do it too soon, I can't see the tree and where I'm trying to put a limb. So there's one. And then I'm just going to twist this around and just bring it over here and run it across two. It doesn't matter if you run across the trees. It actually looks better because it gives some dimension to how your trees are laying. And see how I'm doing it, straight out, and then I'm turning this up as well. That works too. Just do that one like that because here you're really just getting texture from them. I may only use one limb. I may not need to even bring out another one because I'm twisting and turning this one so much. Okay, that's going to be my limbs, not too many. And then we're going to do the deer. All right, so we're going to ink up the deer with some Versamark. I've got some fuzz on there. Okay, ink this guy up. Notice that I over ink. I know I'm doing too much ink, but I have to be safe because I can't see it. So I just want to make sure I hit every spot of the deer. And then he's going to go toward the bottom. And I might even let his feet hang off a slight little bit there. Ink him down really well. Perfect. I think I can't see it. All right, so now we're going to heat emboss those pieces. So back to our white powder. And you want to kind of remember where you did everything or just pour it all over the whole piece. It won't matter. You're going to put this right back into your jar, but this way you know you don't miss anything. And I bet you can kind of see those now as well. Yeah, see the deer? He showed up. That's good. Looks like I might have missed a little spot on him, but we're going to keep going. On my original, I did a squirrel here, but I didn't really leave a limb long enough for the squirrel to sit, so I'm not going to do the squirrel this time. I am still going to do the little red bird. We'll do him later. Okay, the next thing we need is our background builder stamp set. From this background builder set, I'm going to use the dots here at the bottom. When Mandy and I did this set, this is actually what we did this for, was so you could get this full background effect without having to sit there and draw every single dot. So here's what we're going to do this time. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to powder again, just to be safe. Again, though, we're doing snow, so if some gets in certain spots, it'll be fine. You just don't want big fingerprints on there. And then we're going to ink this guy up. I'm going to go to my bigger Versamark pad for this one. And I'm going to ink the little dots up. And I'm going to run them all the way down the page. So I'm going to start at the top. And I'm using my little press here. So I'm going to sit this down. And even though my page is warped, it really is not going to matter. I'm going to do this one here like so. And just kind of remembering where I was, because you're not going to be able to see it very well. I'm going to ink this again. And in real life, I'm sure I'm seeing it better than you guys are seeing it on the screen anyway. And I'm going to just nestle that up. And just keep going all the way down the page. And the last little thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this at the top, just like so, and I'm going to put something behind it. This is my little ink catcher. I'm going to take this ink pad, and at the bottom, I'm just going to run it around to make like a bed of snow. And I mean, I am just willy-nilly inking the very edge, and whatever sticks, sticks. That's how I did the first one, and it worked just fine. Now we got to cover the whole thing again. And you guessed it, heat it. And you guys, I want to show you this. This is a gift that was given to me by a subscriber. This is a logo that she actually created for a shirt that actually won a contest. It's super cute. This is printed on a piece of paper, and then she laminated it and gave it to me. And I always flip it over just because of camera, so this is not in your face. But you can use either side of this for inking. It's perfect. So if you want to make a homemade tool, a laminated sheet of cardstock or paper will work just fine. All right, now for the part I know you've been waiting on. How do you get the color there? All right, I went into my Distress Oxides and I pulled out a bunch of blues and grays. It's the only thing I went with. And I want to say it's been a little bit, but I think I did. Faded Jeans, Chipped Sapphire, Weathered Wood, and I may have done a little bit of Broken China. I can't remember exactly, but we'll see. We'll just play with this one and go together and see what we get. So using an ink blending tool and the ink blender pad that is for weathered wood. I have a bunch of these. Matter of fact, when you purchase this, you get 2 of these in a pack, 2 of the little pieces, and you can order these in little packs and get a whole bunch of them. And you can either keep them, let me see if I have one on here real quick. Here's one. And you can put a little Velcro piece on the back of your ink pads and stick that in there, and this will still sit flat. Although it's not been my favorite way to store them, I found that I do better putting them on like a sheet of cardstock with the little Velcro, because these don't allow me to stack these when I have these little pads in there. So I haven't loved having the pads. I love the convenience, but I don't like how they don't stack well. So either way you want to do it. All right, so the first thing I did, this is my moon, okay? I know I want the moon to be inked in the lightest color that I have, but actually what I did on mine, my original, is I just inked the entire page in the lightest color first. So I'm taking my weathered wood, the lightest color I'm using, this gray, and I'm going to blend, blend, blend. I'm doing small circular motions. And by the way, this is Not Your Mama's cardstock from Brutus Monroe. It heat embosses beautifully. It takes ink beautifully. It holds, it's so sturdy that I can hold it really well when I'm doing this. It doesn't buckle and bend on me. I just love that cardstock. So I'm going to do the whole page in this gray to start with. You're starting to be able to see the image showing because it resists on the white embossing powder. Again, it will resist on clear as well. So if you only have clear, you can use it, and whatever color is behind your embossing powder, as far as whatever cardstock you used, will show through the clear. So that's why you can use clear on white paper or white on white paper. So just imagine if you did clear on brown paper, then the deer would be brown coming through his embossing. And don't worry about going over the top of your embossing. We're going to clean that off in a little bit. All right, so the first color is gray. And then the other colors I will use will all be darker. And I'll sort of avoid this area to create the light source like I did there. So the next color we're going to do, I'll peel this little guy off of here. Just like so. And I don't have a Velcro on there, so I'm just going to sit this here until I can put it back on the little sheet. And I think I'll go to Faded Jeans next. So the first thing I want to do is focus on the edges of the page. Just working my way from the edge in. But again, I want to avoid making the moon area dark. I want to leave that for light. So I'm coming around the edges and working my way in first. And I'm going to stay away from it for the most part here. But when I come back this way, I'm going to get much heavier in there and let that light source kind of live in the middle of the page. And you can have as much light or as little light as you want. You can be very focused. I kind of let the whole center be kind of lit from it. Now, in my opinion, you could totally stop there, but I want to show you what a third color does because it really does add some depth. So the one we're adding now is Chipped Sapphire. So I'll bring that one over. And again, to the edges first, just to the edges, especially here where I want to keep my light source. I don't want to accidentally get in there and cover up my light. And the more you stay to the edges, even the brighter the middle becomes. Watch as I do this, how much brighter that part that we left becomes. So adding this darker edge here really makes that feel brighter and even kind of gives it another color. For some reason to the eye, it makes it look like there's some green in there, which I think is really cool. Now that all the colors are kind of mixed on my little color mat, I'm just going to pick some of it up and just keep blending where I need it. And you can decide. I kind of like how that light looks in the trees and at the top there. So that's where I'm going to stop with my blending. And now we can clean our embossing. So for my trees, I've taken a wet wipe and I've curled it to this little bitty point here. Do you see this? Just a little point. And all I'm going to do is run down the trees and pick up the ink off of it. Look at the difference that makes. And I'm being careful because remember, look how much we picked up off there. Because remember, the oxides will move with water, which is not the end of the world because it just blends it some more. But I found that this really picks up the color off of the embossing. And you can do it with a Q-tip. You can do this with a dry cloth as well. But for me, I got a much brighter white when I did it with this little moist cloth. I'm going to come back with a dry cloth. You'll see that in a minute. But I'm starting with this one. And anywhere you do it where the embossing is, it's not going to hurt anything because you're not really wetting any cardstock. The embossing kind of keeps that from happening. I just think it looks so pretty when you wet it like that and get it off of there. A lot of people disagree with this step. I know. I've heard a lot of people tell me that I shouldn't do this, but I just think it makes it so much brighter and whiter. So this is just one of those cloths that you pick up at like the Dollar Tree. And now I'm just going to come in and kind of buff and pick up the difference. And this is going to take it off of our snowflakes. It's going to take it off of the leftover on the trees and the limbs and anywhere I didn't hit it with that wet wipe. How pretty, right? Gosh, looks so good. So this is it all buffed up, but there's one thing left to do, and that is add that little bird in bright red. I think it's so cute on the little tree limb in red. So what I did was I used the VersaFine Clair in Glamorous because it's a beautiful red, and this Clair is a nice rich pigment ink, so it'll really sit on top of that surface really well. So even though we have all of these inks underneath, this guy is going to sit right here, and I inked it one time and I went back over it a second time. And I got a pretty good red from it. It's enough for you to see there's a red bird sitting there. He's a little bit knocked back in the color, but he looks great to me. All right, I'm gonna let that dry and we're gonna put this on a card. So I dug into my stash and I found this brown paper that I think looks really pretty for this card. And it actually came from the Sweet Baby Boy stamp set, paper pack, which I'm showing you this because I want you to see that you don't have to buy these and use them just for what they are intended. You can go through and pick out different pages that might work on the project you're doing. And for this, I think this brown looks great. So I'm gonna cut the brown to go around the sides of this to be a little matte piece. And this piece is 3.5, I think. Nope, this one's a little more. This is 3 3/4. So I want to cut this one to 4. So I know that measurement. And then it is 5 long, I think. Yep, 5. So I'm going to cut this to 5 1/4. So I have a little brown coming around the edge of it. And sometimes it's the matte that really makes the picture pop. So pay attention to that. You know, spend some time picking out the color you want to put around it. I considered black, which you think would be the right one, but I don't know. I just use black all the time and I decided not to on this one. So I'm going to stick this down to the piece we just created for it to get that little brown border around the edge of it. And then this can go onto a card base. Look, it's got the little turtles on the back. I think that's cool. I always look into, especially my 6x6 pads, when I'm looking for like small pattern to use as a mat, I always look in my 6x6 pads for that. I think that works great. All right, and then this guy just gets mounted here, and that white is really going to help everything to pop. It kind of looks like it's a window with that wood around it or a frame. Looks really good. So there you go, guys. This is the one we did today, the one I did before. I think they look really good, and they're not hard to do. They're a little time consuming, but that's the way I did it. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks so much for asking me to show you. I enjoy showing you how I do those projects, and I cannot wait to see you guys make this same card or your version of it. Head over to our customer gallery at maymaymadeit.com and share with us what you're making. And if you need inspiration, there are over 2,000 entries in our customer gallery. You can see so many projects that are made using our stamp sets and other product from the store to give you some inspiration. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great one. Bye-bye.